Alright, what's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Series 11 team building video, and today we're going to be looking at Ho-Oh for Series 11. So we already looked at Zacian Dragonite for our, again, another potential rental code for January. Then we looked at our greedy version of Calyrex Shadow and Porygon Z. So if you haven't checked out those two videos, give those two a look. But this will be the third one. This is going to be Ho-Oh. Alright, so Ho-Oh always has an interesting place in the meta anytime you have a restricted format, right? Whether it be Dynamax or non-Dynamax. I mean, you know what it can do against Zacian, right? It's a strong fire type. It can wall Behemoth Blade, it can wall the fighting move, it can wall the fairy move. So Ho-Oh has a positive matchup, especially against a lot of the bulkier steel types, you know, something like a Solgaleo or a Metagross, or even like Celesteela. You know, Ho-Oh has positive matchups there, and you know, you have Stab Max Airstream, right? So you got a lot of good things going for Ho-Oh here. The problem with Ho-Oh is that 4x rock weakness, which makes it very vulnerable to something like Landorus or even Incineroar. And you know, if Landorus has that rock slide move, then Ho-Oh is just very vulnerable to it. It's 4x weak to it, and you don't want to take any kind of rock move. Same thing for Groudon. I mean, it does okay in the Sun matchup, especially if you give it something like a safety goggles. Okay, and then Groudon is forced to have to run Rock Slide if you want to deal like real good damage to Ho-Oh, and not all Groudons run Rock Slide. Most of them do, but not all of them. All right, so then you're almost you know, in a bit of a standstill where like, okay, how can I help support Ho-Oh where, you know, I got all these positives, but how do I mitigate some of these negatives here, right? So you're weak to Intimidate, you're weak to, you know, rock moves. So, you know, I look at its ability, Regenerator, and, you know, this is like a Mungus, right? Or if you pivot it in and out, you gain HP back. And, you know, it does really well behind screens, right? Because then you don't take damage. And then if you just keep pivoting, then you get all your health back, and you can survive late game scenarios, right? Just because you have Regenerator and you're always pivoting. Okay, this was better in Series 10, you know, because there was more pivot and less broken Dynamax moves, but Series 11/8, you know, not as good, but still pretty good, you know. But anyway, so how do we build this whole team here? So I'm thinking already Lapras, right? So G-Max Lapras, you know, you're weak to Kyogre, right? Ho-Oh doesn't do well against Kyogre as well. So, but Lapras can help mitigate that weakness. And now you have 2 rock weakness. But again, you know, even though Landorus has a rock move, Lapras can just very much handle Landorus, especially when you're Dynamax. And you're hiding behind those Aurora Veil screens, right? So I like Ho-Oh Lapras. You can set the Aurora Veil, then Ho-Oh just comes in the back, and then, you know, just sits behind screens, clicks Brave Bird, clicks Sacred Fire, and you're good to go. Okay, so but we are weak to Electric, we are weak to Regieleki here, so I feel like, you know, something like a Raichu is pretty good here, especially with the Lightning Rod. You get a fast Fake Out user, you get Nuzzle, you know, broken move, so, you know, might as well just throw that in there. Fake Out and Nuzzle, you already know these are a couple of staple moves on Raichu. And honestly, you know, to help even more support, you know, this is just to like discourage Regieleki, you know, from opponents bringing that, and we can discourage that even more by adding Landorus here. So Landorus adds Intimidate to the team, gives us more harder Sun check than just Ho-Oh itself, especially if we have the Lumberry, which is exactly what we're going to run on the Landorus. So yeah, I mean, Landorus is always very good on Lapras teams because, you know, you can go for Swords Dance behind that Aurora Veil setup, and then just go for Earthquake, because you can also always Earthquake next to Ho-Oh because you are a flying type. Okay, and what's also good about Raichu and Landorus is Raichu, you can always click Volt Switch in case there's a ground move coming in, switch into your Landorus, and now the Max Quake doesn't do any damage because Landorus is a flying type. Okay, so yeah, Regieleki doesn't want to come to this game because you got a Landorus and you got a Raichu. So, you know, all the more power to the opponent if they want to bring Regieleki against this kind of team. But now we need something for Calyrex Shadow, right? We got Ho-Oh and Landorus for Zacian. We got Lapras and Raichu for the Kyogre matchup. We're okay with Sun, with Ho-Oh and Landorus as well. But we need something for Calyrex Shadow. I do like Umbreon. You know, Urshifu's another good one, but I like Umbreon, especially with Inner Focus. Just no Intimidates, no Fake Outs. I mean, Incin, what does Incin do against this team? Not a whole lot, especially when you have Lapras and Landorus on the team. Okay, so Umbreon's really good. You can punish early game maxes with something like Yawn. Okay, and you know, you always have Snarl. You know, just to like, you know, neuter special attackers. Also helpful in the Calyrex Shadow matchup, because what does it do against Umbreon? It just dies. Okay, and then last but not least, you know, the Trick Room game. I know we have Umbreon, but I think just to be able to help Landorus set up here, and something to also take advantage behind Lapras screens, I think the Amoonguss very much fits here. So, you know, with redirection support, you got Intimidate, you got Fake Out, and now you add the redirection. So you got a lot of VGC tools here. And, you know, this is just for Trick Room. More so Trick Room, right? Because now you have something that you can click Spore into, especially if you have 0 IVs in the speed. So, you know, you can help your Landorus set up that Swords Dance, as we said. So really nice synergy that we got with the team here. And overall, I think we got a lot of checks to a lot of the meta here. We got something for Calyrex Shadow. We got even for Calyrex Ice, because we have a Ho-Oh here. We've got the Kyogre matchup. We've got the Zacian matchup covered. So we've got tools. We've got answers. It's all about positioning and, you know, getting the right mons in at the right time. Okay, so this is our 6. So let's just go ahead and reveal all these GIFs here. So we have Ho-Oh. We've got Lapras. We've got Landorus. We have the Raichu. We have the Umbreon, and of course the Amoonguss. Okay, so those are our 6. So now let's just finish off the moves, the EVs, the items, and then let's show a couple of damage calcs and, you know, some sample battles. Alright, so let's start with Ho-Oh here. So we have Regenerator here, and obviously we're just gonna go with a standard set here with Sacred Fire and Brave Bird, your 2 max moves. So Max Flare, Max Airstream is always nice, and of course we have Recover, and we're gonna have Protect in the final slot here. So now it's very easily to go Safety Goggles here, but I'm thinking a different route here. So I'm thinking Weakness Policy Ho-Oh, and the reason why I'm thinking this is you can combo this with Raichu, where if you have Volt Switch, okay, you can Volt Switch your Ho-Oh, proc the policy, go into Landorus, all right, in case there's a ground move coming into Raichu, and now, you know, Landorus and Ho-Oh are next to each other. Landorus can click Earthquake next to Ho-Oh, and then Ho-Oh can go for Max Airstream, make Landorus super fast. So, you know, you can go for those fast Earthquakes, especially, right? You can even Dynamax the Landorus if you want to, and then just have Ho-Oh be the non-Dynamax threat on the field as well. And then you can pump up Ho-Oh with the Max Quake and increase its special defenses. And by the way, its special defense is already insane. But yeah, I do like that combination. So we're gonna surprise the opponent with the Weakness Policy here. And, you know, as far as nature is concerned, you know, I do like Adamant. So I think Adamant is always really nice on a Ho-Oh team. So from here, how do we want to do this? So I think for speed, I think I still want to respect something like a Cinderace. So I think 127 is all we need. You know, not that Cinderace really threatens Ho-Oh. It's just a good speed tier to hit. This will make it faster than a lot of Groudons, especially. So all the more welcome sight for extra speed on the Ho-Oh here. As far as how much attack we want to invest, I think second EV bump is what we want. And again, if you don't know what an EV bump is, I'm going to show it again here. But I feel like I get that question at least once. That means some of you are not actually watching the video. So I'm going to show you an EV bump here for Ho-Oh. But again, if you still don't know what an EV bump is, comment on the video and I'll explain it and hopefully you'll understand it, but I think it's almost time where I start dedicating one video explaining what an EV bump is. But anyway, let's show it here. So our adamant is our nature here. So every 80 EVs, a Pokemon hits what's called an EV bump, where that stat goes up by 2 points instead of 1 point when you invest your EVs. So the first point is always going to be 4, and you notice how the attack goes up by 1. Now everything is 8 EVs, so you see here it becomes 167, 168, 169. All right, but then at some point we are going to reach a bump here. 172, 173, 174, 176 right here. This is the first bump. Notice how I went from 174 and then I went to 176. It skipped 175. So this is the first EV bump here where you skipped that 175 and you went up by 2 attack points. All right, and this happens at every 80 EVs. So that's why there are 3 EV bumps for every Pokemon in that natured stat. All right, and our nature stat is adamant. So after another 80 EVs, which is 156, you'll hit the second EV bump. All right, so let's go ahead and show that here. All right, 156. Again, notice how it's going up by 1, and now it's going to go from 185 to 187. Watch this. Boom, there it is. It skipped 186. So this is the second EV bump. And the third one, just to show it off, it's going to be at 236 here. So you went from 196, boom, up to 198, right? So that's an EV bump, all right? You get an extra attack boost than normal. But we're just going to go second EV bump here, all right? Because we have a weakness policy already, so we don't need all that attack. 187 is very strong already. Now for the HP stat, we just want to go up to 207 is a good number, you know, just to optimize your sand and hail chip. Because 207 divided by 16 is going to be 12.9. 12.9 rounds down to 12. So now you're only taking 12 damage per sand and hail chip. All right. And then from here, you're just going to put 2 points in defense and your last point in special defense. Ho doesn't really need special defense. You already have a crap ton. So this is all you really need. And that's our Ho spread. We outspeed Cinderace. We optimize our HP for sand and hail damage, and we have the second bump in the attack stat. All right, Lapras, Life Orb. Again, I always like a more stronger offensive Lapras, and we're still gonna go standard moveset here with Freeze Dry, Hydro Pump, Thunder, also very good against opposing Kyogre, and Protect. All right, very standard Lapras here. And as far as our speed stat is, first of all, we're gonna go modest. We need to be a hard-hitting Lapras because that special attack stat is not that great to begin with. So any special attack boosting nature is always welcome. We're just going to go up to 95 speed here. This is just so that we can be faster than almost every single Incineroar in the format. Because the one thing you don't want happening to Lapras is the opposing Incineroar goes first, clicks Parting Shot, and then your Lapras just does no damage anymore. So yeah, 95 is always a good speed. And then from here, we'll just go, again, third EV bump here, which is 196 special attack, which is what we want here. And then just a little bit of bulk remaining. So let's just optimize our HP for Life Orb Chip. 108 investment, which brings it to 219. This is all we really want. As long as we end in a 9, this is how we optimize for Life Orb, right? Because, you lose 1/10 of your HP per Life Orb Chip. So what is 219 divided by 10? 21.9, which rounds down to 21. Okay, so you're taking 21 HP damage per turn from your Life Orb, right? So we want to optimize that, because if we go 1 point more, now we broke the threshold, and now we're at 220, and now we're taking 22 damage per Life Orb Chip. We don't want that. We want to undercut the threshold. So we go to 219. So this way we have as much HP as possible, but still only take 21 points of damage. All right. And then from here, we just want 84 defense. All right. And then the last point in special defense. So it's a bulky Lapras that still does very good damage. And I'll show you what some of these damage calcs do when we get to the damage calc section of the video. All Alright, Raichu, very standard here. We already did the movesets here. Fake out, Volt, Nuzzle, Volt Switch. We'll just add Protect in the last one. But I honestly, you know, because we're already the faster fake out user, you know, I kind of like this move, Eerie Impulse, just to punish, you know, special attackers. And, you know, they don't always expect Eerie Impulse from Raichu. And we are going to go Focus Sash here. Alright, and then very simply, you know, we are just going to be a fast Raichu. Timid is special attack, speed, and then special defense. This is all we really need from our Raichu here. Now for the Umbreon. So we said Snarl, we said Yawn. Again, Snarl is really good against special attackers. Yawn can punish an early Dynamax should the opponent disrespect the Umbreon like this. We'll go Leftovers, of course. But I like Foul Play. Alright, this is also very good against things that want to go with a weakness policy. And you know, you can something like Solgaleo, and then you can just punish it with Foul Play. And then from here, I think Moonlight is also pretty good. So this way, when Ho-Oh goes for Max Flare, now the Umbreon can heal itself with Moonlight. Okay, now as far as the HP is concerned, I feel like just going Bold is good. You know, very good against Zacian or even Urshifu that want to go for that fighting move against Umbreon here. Second EV bump, you know, 156 investment is all we really need here. So it went from 163 and the next bump is 165. So there's the bump there. You know, just a tiny bit of special attack. Again, Umbreon's role on the team is not to deal damage. It's just to be a nuisance and help support the Dynamax options. And then from here, just, you know, a tiny bit of speed and the rest in your Spadef. You know, just to be able to be as tanky as possible. And, you know, just equalize the remaining EVs in the special attack and speed. Okay. I like Shiny Umbreon, by the way. Same with Lapras here. Okay. The Amoonguss, again, Regenerator, just like Ho-Oh, to be able to pivot in and out behind Lapras screens and get all that health back is really going to come in handy in the late game. I think Cobra Berry is pretty good against things that want to go for max Airstream. So Rage Powder, Spore, Pollen Puff, just so that you can heal yourself. You can heal your Landorus, you can heal your Lapras, you can heal your Ho-Oh if you need to. You might even be able to heal your Raichu sometimes and get your Focus Sash back if that ever comes up. But yeah, and then Protect in the final slot. So to optimize the Regenerator bonus, we are going to go 236 HP investment. That gets it to 219 because remember, Regenerator is a third of that. Alright, and then from here, honestly, just plus in the Spadef and minus nature in the speed. So I feel like Sassy's always fine. And then from here, just first bump in the Sassy nature is all we want, 121. Yep, there it is. And then just the rest in defense. Just a bulky Shroom. No Turbo Shroom this time, but yeah. Is that it? I believe so. Oh, wait, we didn't do our Landorus moves. How did I... Yeah, we skipped the Landorus. Alright, anyway. Earthquake, Fly, and of course our Rock Stab of Max Rockfall, which is Rock Slide. Okay, and then for speed-wise, we just need to be faster than Calyrex Shadow after +1. So we're just going to go Jolly here. 196 investment, which gets it to 149. And 149 at +1 will outspeed Calyrex Shadow. From here, we just optimize the HP for Hail Chip. Alright, so 175 is that mark because 175 divided by 16 is 10.9, which rounds down to 10. So you're only taking 10 points of hail damage per turn if there is hail set. From here, you just, you know, almost, you know, you just want to invest the rest in your attack stat, and you get a nice even number, which is good for Swords Dance. Especially, you know, you get the even whole number after you click Swords Dance to get +2. So now let me just check one more time. Is this it? Did we do it all? I think we did, yes. So this is it. Yeah. We got Ho-Oh, Lapras. Again, Ho-Oh and Amoonguss, they're able to, you know, capitalize off of double Regenerator behind those screens. Raichu helps support the Ho-Oh and the Lapras. We got speed control with Nuzzle. Eerie Impulse against those special attackers. Umbreon can do the same thing, punish that early max with Yawn, and even Snarl potential special attackers. Landorus is more for the Sun matchup. Alright, good for Zacian. And Amoonguss, you know, just in case they want to bring Trick Room. But we'd also use the Amoonguss to help redirect, you know, just to help set up our Swords Dance as well. So overall, I think it's a solid team for what it can do. So now it's just all a matter of testing it out in some sample battles. But if you've been a fan for a while, this is actually the team that we used back in Series 8. When we also used Ho-Oh, Landorus, Lapras. But the EVs are a little bit different since then. So yeah, if you want to check that out, you know, go ahead. But this is it. But now let's just show off some damage calcs, and then we'll show you some sample battles. Okay, so let's start with the Lapras first. So we've used Lapras a few times on the channel already. But again, you know, we always have some new viewers, so I always have to keep showing some of these key calcs. But again, the purpose of the Lapras bulk that we came up with is for the Rillaboom, because with 108 HP and 84 defense, when you're Gigantamax, alright, you actually live the Wood Hammer from a Rillaboom, and then you could just smash it right back with G-MaxResonance. So I think that's always important, if you can live a Wood Hammer from a Rillaboom when you're Dynamax. Because then you live and then you can set up your resonance, and then even if Lapras dies, it's okay, because first of all, you knock out the Rillaboom and you got your screens up, so this way your Landorus or Ho-Oh can come in from the back and, you know, just deal damage comfortably behind those screens, right? So that's always one thing with the Rillaboom. Regieleki, same idea. So let's go standard Alecki here with Magnet. So Thunderbolt. This is Magnet Alecki. Again, Max Lightning, we still live it, which is always nice. But again, we have a Raichu in the back, so this shouldn't happen all that often if you pivot in your Raichu from the back. But if you don't, you can live a Regieleki Max Lightning and survive, and then just go for your Resonance play. If this was Life Orb Alecki, let's see. Again, you still live it. I mean, 6.3% chance, that's totally fine. That would be, again, even the highest of rolls. So good luck to Regieleki doing that. But again, Resonance would get that set up, and we should be okay. But remember, you have the Raichu in the back. But at least know that you can live the Max Lightning and the Wood Hammer if you need to. Alright, so those are the key damage calcs there. Alright, now let's take a look at Ho-Oh here. And again, Ho-Oh is just such a tank. Look at this. So this is Life Orb, Thunderbolt, Regieleki. Again, you have the Raichu in the back. So if you get in position, this shouldn't happen. But if it does, Ho-Oh lives a Life Orb, 252, Timid, Thunderbolt from Regieleki. And then you proc the policy, and then you just kill it right back. But the fact that you can live it is always, always nice. So yeah, we got some good EVs. We know what we're doing here. And of course, if you Dynamax and he Dynamaxes, we're more than chilling. All right, he'll just proc our policy, and then we just click Airstream or click Max Flare, and then things die. So there's that. What about like Landorus Rock Slide? I think that's always important, right? So Landorus, standard Lando here. So even without any screens, we do live a Rock Slide from a Landorus, right? So which is kind of cool if you ask me. So that just pays homage to Ho-Oh's bulk here. The fact that you can live 252 Rock Slide from a Landorus, something that you're 4 times weak to. Alright, however, if you do Dynamax Ho-Oh, and if the Landorus also Dynamaxes, again, you still live that max Rockfall. I mean, the max damage it'll do is 98%. And then, you know, you break my policy, I click Airstream, I click Flare, and we're just chilling. So if I just click +2 here, yeah, I mean, you know, max Airstream, it's not going to kill Landorus, but, you know, we're going to be faster next turn, and then we just kill it. So always, always nice to be able to live a very important rock damage from something like a Landorus. I think that's always key. So those are the important calcs there, Regieleki and Landorus. So Ho-Oh lives it, all right, because we have the best EVs. Alright, so let's take a look at the Umbreon here. So the Umbreon, okay, so if it's Sacred Sword, you're living. Play Rough, unfortunately, you are not living. And if it's Close Combat, Zacian, you know, it is a roll. Now, can you avoid this? You can. If you invest a little bit more in the defense and take away some of its special defense, So if you go third bump here, you can live this close combat relatively easily, and the play rough becomes a roll, even though it's not too favorable. But again, if you have just one Intimidate from the Landorus, all of this is fine, and then you can be able to click Foul Play or click Yawn, and then just put the Zacian to sleep. But you're gonna need a little bit help from the Landorus to be able to live that close combat. But that's okay. You have a Ho-Oh and your own Landorus, which you're gonna be bringing anyway to a Zacian matchup. But let's take a look at Urshifu. As the custom set here. So a close combat Urshifu, you will live that, which is always nice, knowing that you can get one attack off and live one close combat from an Urshifu. So those are, again, the two main things you want to be aware of when you use Umbreon. Can you live a Zacian fighting move, and can you live the close combat from an Urshifu? Alright, so we do, in fact, alright, with a little help from Landorus, alright, against Zacian, okay? Alright, so now let's just take a look at some sample battles here. So this is what I'm talking about here. So he's got an Aleki, so that automatically means we're bringing the Raichu here. Our own Landorus could be relatively helpful against their Landorus and also their Yveltal here. Now, for him, he's got both a Raichu, an Aleki and a Togedemaru. I don't know why. That's a little anti-synergistic, because you have a Lightning Rod on this Togedemaru, right? Which can help the Blastoise and Yveltal, but that means you can't bring your own Regieleki. So I don't know about that, and I don't know why you would have two electrics on your team like this. I think one or the other. I would just take one out and put Incin. But, what we're going to do is we're going to lead Lapras, because Lapras does well against this entire team, as long as we have Raichu pivoting from the back. Alright, so we're going to lead the Lapras with Raichu in the back, and of course we'll bring our Ho-Oh if we need to. Alright, so as play starts off, we brought the Umbreon just because it'll do good against the Yveltal, because we'll benefit from the Dark Aura, right? So this Landorus is basically a sitting duck here. One, the Intimidate did nothing, and two, it's gonna die when we max the Lapras and click G-MaxResonance, and there's not a whole lot that wants to come in this. Yeah, he can bring in Blastoise, but I mean, we have an electric move and we have a Raichu in the back, so I'm totally fine here. And what we could also do is bait this electric attack from the Regieleki by pivoting our Raichu. So we're going to switch the Umbreon out and bring in the Raichu, max the Lapras, protect it with the Raichu, and then the Landorus should just die. Alright, so yeah, so I'm just going to switch in the Raichu. And he actually maxes the Aleki, which is very, very bad for him, because now we just absorbed that max lightning move. Alright, now Raichu's +1. Landorus goes for Rock Slide, but again, doesn't matter because it just dies to G-MaxResonance. And we're just chilling here because this Aleki does nothing and we have screens and he just forfeits. So a mistake by my opponent, not accounting for the fact that there could be Raichu in the back. I don't know why you would just max the Aleki like that, but he did, and he forfeited. So that was a very quick one. So let's just keep on going and look at some of the others we did. Okay, so this is a Palkia team with Rillaboom and Blastoise, Grimmsnarl. So those are pretty standard options. I don't know why he has a Steelix and an Arcanine here. Very strange if you ask me, but I don't think he brings either of them because Ho-Oh and Lapras would just have a field day here. And again, this is another game where Lapras does really well. He's almost forced to bring the Rillaboom here, otherwise he has nothing for the Lapras. And then of course we have Ho-Oh for that Rillaboom, so I think we're fine here, in all honesty. So same idea, Raichu Lapras is going to be my lead, and there's the Grimmsnarl and there's the Palkia. So this is also good because Raichu, we could do a lot of things. One, we could click Fake Out, or two, if he maxes the Palkia, we can punish that right away by going for Eerie Impulse. We can even Nuzzle it. And Lapras, we could always click Freeze Dry, which is really, really good against Palkia because it's a Water type and a Dragon type. And really all we have to worry about is this Grimmsnarl here. I mean, yeah, he's going to get screens up, but, you know, so are we. So I'm not too worried about the Grimmsnarl here. Okay. But he has Trick. For some reason, on this kind of team, he has Trick. So he takes my Life Orb. But of course, Palkia just doesn't do damage after the Eerie Impulse. So now I got my screens up, and he's going to get his screens up. He took my Life Orb, so my Lapras does no damage. But there's Nuzzle, best move in the game. Goes for Earth Power, doesn't even kill my Raichu. And Max Geyser might be a mistake there, because now I'm just letting my Palkia deal more damage. Their Palkia deal more damage if they go for a water move. But we have a Lapras, so I don't think he would even click that. Now, I debated to switch out my Raichu for Landorus here, but, you know, I took a risk, and I decided to not do that. I'll kill the Grimmsnarl, and I went into Umbreon instead. And he does click the Earth Power, and unfortunately, he does get the crit. So, unfortunate for me. I could have just went into Landorus and dodged that Earth Power, but it's okay. And again, we just chipped the Palkia, so this way Freeze Dry can just clean up in the end game, which is what we want here. So there's the Blastoise finally. So there's the Rillaboom. Again, this is fine. He maxes the Blastoise. That's expected. Cannonade and the rain just boosts him, so that, again, I'm looking back at my Geyser, maybe a bit of a mistake, but that's okay because Umbreon did survive. We had the screens and we clicked Yawn, which is all I really want. And that looks like AV Rillaboom. That Rillaboom took it very, very well. Okay, and he's Rain Dish. Oh, that's interesting. But anyway, the Cannonade kills my Umbreon. Here comes Ho-Oh. So the problem here is actually, it's not even a problem. I can protect the Ho-Oh and bait Blastoise's last turn of max, and he'll activate my policy, and then I can protect the Lapras against the Grassy Glide if he goes for it, right? So I'm just going to protect both slots here. All right, there's the Grassy Glide. I think I would have lived it because I had screens, but he procs my policy after the Cannonade, so that was correct. And yeah, and there's the G-Max Cannonade chip. So I'm just gonna switch out my Lapras. I'll give him the Raichu, but again, I'll take his Rillaboom in the process. So now he just has a Palkia and a Blastoise against a Lapras, and you know the Blastoise is asleep and the Palkia is paralyzed. So Lapras is just kind of chilling here. And again, you see the value of Raichu and Umbreon here. So I click Recover on the Ho-Oh just to, you know, again, that's what I'm doing, right? I'm just recovering my HP. The Palkia is paralyzed, so it just dies to Freeze Dry, and there's not much the Blastoise can really do now because it's asleep, and Brave Bird just cleans up. So again, what won the game? What won the game was Raichu and Umbreon. Those are the two that won the game. All right, and then Lapras and Ho-Oh just kind of finished the job from there. But yeah, the support mons, they do very, very well if you position them correctly. Okay, so this is Kyogre, and that's a very weird Kyogre team, but he's got Indeedee Hat. Again, this is a game for Lapras and Umbreon because, you know, Lapras does well against Dracovish, does well against Kyogre, and the Indeedee Hat lead doesn't scare me because we have an Umbreon. I don't know what the Serena does here except die to Ho-Oh, so this should be a relatively easy game. So Umbreon and Lapras, Hatterene and Indeedee. So he's going with the Indeedee Hat lead, and again, unless he has a fairy move, and if he maxes the Hatterene, that's fine, because then he's not maxing the Kyogre. Alright, so we'll see what he decides to do. I'm going for the screens here. He actually goes for Mystical Fire. So Indeedee has Mystical Fire, so not great. He doesn't max the Hatterene. This could be Trick Room, but we do get Snarl off, so the Hatterene is -1 if it did max. But actually, he just has Mystical Fire as well. So my Lapras is -2. But, you know, Umbreon's just going to sit here and click Snarl all day. There's another Resonance. We chipped Indeedee at this point. Another Snarl. So now this Hatterene and Indeedee are both -2. And again, Expanding Force just not doing a whole lot against Lapras. And it is Life Orb Hatterene as confirmed. We did see that HP drop. So he stalled my max. But, you know, Umbreon just kind of sitting here and chilling here. You know, it didn't take any damage. And now I can always switch out my Lapras and preserve it for the Kyogre, which is what I do. Alright, because now Hatterene goes down and we chip the Dracovish. So now here's the Kyogre. Okay, so 100% Lapras is coming in here because you got two water types on the field. I'm just wondering which slot do I swap it into. I decide to bring it in the Ho-Oh slot, and I guess wrong because he clicks Fishious Rend in the Umbreon. I didn't think the Umbreon was a big threat, but apparently he did. Alright, and then he Water Spouts, kills my Umbreon, but heals my Lapras. So I thought about switching Lapras in that slot, but he guessed it correct. But again, Raichu's just going to chill here. You know, we're just going to click Eerie Impulse, And if he maxed the Kyogre, which he didn't, it would just die eventually or just not do damage. And there's the freeze dry. So he gives me the Indeedee, which means now this Kyogre is trapped at -2. So if he wants, he has to max the Dracovish, but he doesn't max it. And that means that tells me he's Scarf if he moved before my Raichu. He tried to kill it, but it didn't kill it. So now we just he has Water Pulse, and now we just remove the Dracovish. And now this Kyogre just doesn't do any damage because it's -4. He can max it, but it doesn't matter because Lapras wins the game. So very interesting choice by my opponent not to max. But I understand why he didn't max the Dracovish, because then the Raichu just wins the game. And he had to try and remove it, but he couldn't remove it. So yeah, that's the value of Umbreon and Raichu. Again, they fit very well on this team. And Lapras just sets up screens and it chills there, and Ho just comes in the back. Ho didn't even do anything in this game. All right, so go figure. So again, here's that paste one more time. So again, it's looks like a pretty solid squad for a Ho-Oh Lapras kind of team. Raichu and Umbreon they just carry the team in some games. You know, if you position them properly, the opponent just can't do much, especially if you're hiding behind screens. Umbreon is just really thick, and a lot of teams just don't have enough to remove it. And all you do is just click Snarl and Yawn, and you know, Ho-Oh and Lapras, they just deal a lot of the damage. And then, you know, the Landers, even though we didn't really bring it, it's more for the Sun matchup, because if you don't face against Sun, then Ho-Oh and Lapras, they just do the job from there. So yeah, this will be our third rental code when we make it in January. But yeah, let me know what you think of this kind of team comp. And we got 2 more to go to close out December. And then we'll showcase all these teams in January as we wrap up Series 11. A couple more collabs on the way as well. So yeah, let me know what you think of this squad, and we'll be back with another team building video in the next one. Until next time, have a good one.